Shalom, shalom, and namaste. This is one of your hosts for the Force Principle podcast, Kareem Kazaki Ben Adonai.
And I'm Yazakar Ben Adonai.
Seafood Mike, Katana Ichiban.
All right.
Gang, how y'all brothers doing today?
Doing good.
Perfect. Hey man, it was hard
Yeah, man.
to start freestyling doing your intro.
Oh, I heard that. Yeah. Yeah, actually, I had it going on in my car today. I had my son with me. He was like, "Yeah, I got to get this beat," but it's all good.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Real quick for anybody that's listening, we're kind of like working out some bugs and some issues. So if you want to let us know how we sound on the live, we're actually Bluetooth into our podcaster. So let us know in the comments. Go ahead.
What's today's topic?
Today's topic is going to be religion, spirituality, and the family structure. And the subtopic is traditional values and contemporary ideas. Where do we land with those today?
Mhm.
All right.
Good one.
Yeah,
I know everybody got something, perspective on how they see this, especially since the past few weeks we've been talking about religion, spirituality, tradition, non-traditional, and we can see how it affects us now.
right.
So it's kind of like it's a segue that is like progressing conversation. So let's talk about traditional values.
Mm.
And I guess the question would be, well, individually, what do you think traditional values are? Traditional values and or beliefs.
What it is for today?
Well, to you,
Well,
what it is to you, not today, but we'll get to that. But what does it mean when you hear that to you?
wow. To me, it sounds like a structure that's based on whatever ideas you have in a religious or spiritual context. It really depends on how you move throughout with your main family and without your family and the rest of the people around you, your neighbors, people you meet each and every day.
Okay.
What you got? What you still think?
Well, no, for me, I don't really think there's a difference between modern and traditional values. I think that's blurred by time itself. My personal opinion.
Okay.
I think traditional values were modern during the time of their them being traditional. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? So for me, it's blurred by time. What's
Right.
called tradition and what's called modern.
Okay.
Okay. When I think about traditional values, or spirituality and family structure, I think of a lot of times I look at culture,
Right.
and that's gonna vary, especially in the United States, and we are dealing with the West, with it's a smorgasbord of different cultures, different peoples. So when we talk about tradition, I think it's gonna be very unique to depending on what culture you come from. Whether you're Chinese, Indian, Nigerian, Italian, et cetera, et cetera. But I did do some research, and I know as far as religions go, United States is what? Let me see, 73.7%, at least as of 2016,
You said Christianity.
Christianity.
Okay.
And then you're gonna have all the different denominations of that.
Right.
So it kind of goes back to the conversation we had about 2 weeks ago about the United States being predominantly, quote unquote, Christian in a lot of the ideologies that it claims to uphold.
Right.
So I guess it'll open up as we continue the discussion.
Right.
But my thoughts is it's going to really be based on each particular groupings, and then that's going to get, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Clouded as we progress into now,
Right.
because of like all the cultural melding and the
Right.
cultural mixing,
Right.
if you want to call it that, because the United States would be a melting pot.
Right.
So it'll open up, but I like I said, I think about, it depends on who I'm talking about specifically.
Right. Right. And a lot of things that they do differently when it comes to traditional and non-traditional in
Right.
each culture, or if you want to say a religious base. You know, they do a lot of eating properly in certain religions or traditions.
Well, that's relative.
Right. And, you know, here in America or United States, if it's ruled by a Christian base, you know, it's not like that. It's, you know, you can eat whatever you want to eat.
That depends on the Christianity.
And that depends on Christianity, because I know some Christians that don't eat certain things,
Right.
and they stick to certain scripture laws or what have you.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So let me read something real quick. It says Christianity is the most widely professed religion in the United States, with Protestantism begins its largest branch, although the country has rapidly secularized in recent years. According to the World Values Survey in 2017, the United States is more secular than the median country. They ranked the United States the 32nd least religious country in the world. Least.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. A large variety of the faiths have historically flourished within the country. So a large variety of faiths have historically flourished within the country. Until the 1990s, the United States was a substantial outlier among other highly developed countries, uniquely combining a high level of religiosity and wealth. Although this has lessened significantly since according to Gallup and Pew, 81 to 90% of Americans believe in a higher power.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
While according to Gallup, 45% reporting praying on a daily basis and 41% is reporting that religion plays a very important role in their lives. A majority of Americans report seldom or never attending religious services. 31% report attending religious services weekly or near weekly. Trust the church or organized religion has declined significantly since the 1970s. And again, according to the Pew Research Center and Gallup, 21 to 29% of Americans describe themselves as not being affiliated with a religion.
Right.
A spectrum ranging from materialistic forms of hard atheism to indifference to religion to forms of spirituality that deviate from or do not involve participation in traditional organized religious structures. What's your thoughts on that? I know I said a lot.
In a nutshell, what you said is the church failed us. And again, I'll say it was our generation when we were children, we were teenagers, adolescents. Church was part of the family structure. You went to church on Sundays.
Right.
If you came up like I did, you went Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday.
Right.
You know, so, but what happened and what replaced it was hip hop. We started listening to older gentlemen give an alternative to what was wisdom or wise teachings, I would say. So inside of that structure, we heard older gentlemen and women say that there were other alternatives than the church. And we kind of chose that. So now that we pulled out of the church structure, our children, this generation, don't have that template to follow. So I would see it changing the numbers. Ironically, you said the 70s, that's the birth time of hip hop. So I would say from the 20-year span of 1970 to 1990 would have been that most influential time coming from inner city music to the black community and to other communities also, where you would see a change in the religious structure in the household.
Right.
So I would attribute it to hip hop
Right.
and our generation and some other things. Well, I wait.
I did not see it going that way. I
That's-
that just parked a whole bunch of other thoughts in my head.
Right.
What do you think about that?
Well, I'm gonna agree, right, on that basis, because a lot of hip hop, once you got into the hip hop scene, it was almost like you started to become conscious of other things. So when these rappers or MCs come in and all this other stuff come in, they start to read more books instead of just this one book. A lot of MCs at that time, they were going to college,
Right.
so they had certain knowledges.
Right.
So they would bring it back to the community and say, "Hold on, look at this, y'all." And then once everybody's starting to hang around in hip hop, man,
It's worldwide.
is worldwide and it's attractive because I know it was attractive to me. I mean, I could give a whole list of things how I understood hip hop. I'm gonna tell you, like they used to say, when did you fall in love with hip hop?
Okay.
I fell in love with hip hop when I heard Planet Rock, the song,
Okay.
and I was hooked. I was anything else you couldn't tell me anything about. And I used to love R&B. I used to listen to rock music, heavy metal.
Right.
But once hip hop hit, oh no, I won't. You can't tell me anything anymore.
Hey, for those of you listening, he's a DJ.
Right.
Which makes
And
sense.
right.
Which makes sense for the Planet Rock too.
Yeah. So when that happened, yeah, I was still going to church with my grandmother, but at a point it stopped.
Right.
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 I got goosebumps. So would you all say that hip hop is a catalyst or a medium
I'll say it's a.
for
I'm
say again?
sorry. I would say it's a religion.
Ooh,
Mm.
It could because it's cultural.
I
There's
was
certain
gonna
things in it that you have to do. It's a dress code.
Mm-hmm.
It's the way you talk, a little slang. And it's a lot of people don't know. Some of the younger people may not know. It's like other elements to hip hop. It's just not rap music.
Right.
And DJing.
Right.
Is break dance. It was break dancing,
Dancing.
graffiti.
Right.
Stuff
Art,
like that.
artwork. If you want to,
artwork.
you're right. Okay.
So those are the things. So a lot of those things, once you in the community, and then you walking down the street, especially you could say in New York, it's a plethora of other ideas other than Christianity.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Okay. So that being said, right. So we're going from a country who at least likes to pride itself on being formulated by what we consider Western Christianity.
Right.
We'll use that term, Western Christianity. It's adopted it, and in itself, Christianity has taken many forms. Protestantism, Mormonism. You still have Catholicism and all the different Southern Baptist, Lutheran, all these things.
Right.
So you get this, we get to the 70s now, and then this thing happens. You have a culture. So let's talk about ideally what, from the perspective of culture goes, growing up in a Christian household. I think you laid a foundation is Sunday,
Right.
I think Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday,
Right.
so on and so forth. And
Right.
how do you think, before we get to, because you use the word fail, and I'm not going to really touch on that yet, but before we get to that point, how do you see that benefiting us? Or did it benefit us? That cultural structure at that time period and before?
That was a structure. Anytime you got any kind of structure, it's a good thing. But then you have the anomaly, you have the agitation, the movement, so to speak.
Right.
You're in church and you've been in Sunday service for 3 hours. You're riding home in the car, and then you hear a child was born with no state of mind, blind to the ways of mankind. That
Yeah.
strikes.
Right.
That strikes
Right.
somewhere you like, wait a minute. Now what's this?
Right.
And then it's something that you're familiar with, my father always made sure that my family had, but when it came to an environment, our situation was our situation. We went from inner city straight to suburbia.
Right.
So that right there in itself was a culture shock also. But like I said, just being plugged into what we know today as inner city New York hip hop, being a young child in down South Virginia,
Right.
you like, wait a minute.
Right. What's this?
Right.
You know.
You know what I'm saying? And you know, the lyrics they struck at the soul. They
Right.
struck at the heart chakra.
And-
You felt them.
Right. And see, and when this happens, you have family that's in New York.
Right.
They have, I have
Right. They
a
the
guy,
cousins that
my
come
cousins
down for the
that come
cookout
down.
for the summer.
Yo, they playing this,
Right.
and now
Right.
they bringing something else.
Man, what you got on? What you wearing?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
all
Okay.
the way around. Even when you're talking about Christianity or whatever, it's something different coming in.
Right.
Hold up, bro. You still believe they ask you, yo,
Right.
you believe in that? What?
Right.
Hold on, bro. Let me give you this book.
The brothers from Harlem, they got the soapbox preachers. They
Yeah,
got
right.
the Puerto Ricans on the block, 125th. That's Santeria, Lucumé culture. You
Right.
got the Nation of Islam.
Right.
You got
Five
all those
percenters.
different school 5%ers, all those different schools of thought.
Hebrew
So,
Israelites.
Hebrew Israelites,
Right.
all of that was influential and started coming through the frequency of the radio,
Okay.
the airwaves.
All right. So again, y'all painting the picture because y'all really moving us forward. But I guess let me throw something in there.
Okay.
So a little bit older, a few years older than me.
Mhm.
I didn't experience that.
Right.
I experienced that later in the 80s when I came to the States. I'm from Antigua,
Right.
Caribbean. Shout out. So when I came in like 80s, 88, it was already on the move.
Right.
And I was still listening to Boy George
Right.
and Cyndi Lauper
Right,
and all
right.
that other stuff because that in the islands we listen to everything.
So were
Right.
we.
Yeah,
you know,
we did. Right.
and hip hop didn't hit us till, to my knowledge, later.
Right.
At least it didn't hit me till I came here.
Right.
So for me, it was like my background is very Christian. As far as my family, when I came to the States, I attended a Catholic church. I went to what they call it little church, which is where the children, they learn how to do the epistle and all the Eucharist,
Right,
all these
right.
different things. And then after that, you go to big church. That's one side. I attended Nazarene, man, I can't remember some of the churches, but it was all Christian based. So my family structure was, what I'm used to seeing is, when my mother and my father didn't marry, so I stayed with my grandfather when my mother came to the States. So it was very a patrilineal culture.
Right.
The man goes home, goes out, brings home the bacon. The wife should take care of the children, so on and so forth. So the structure, that's the structure that I saw being with my grandfather and my uncles. When I
Right.
came to the States, it was me and my mother. And she would have to go out and make the bacon, as we say, but she left me with like my godfather and his family.
Right.
So I still got to see the husband and wife situation, and with my god siblings, if you want to call them that, I learned through the school of hard knocks some things.
Right.
So going back to the culture, I saw, at least from the black perspective or the black West Indian perspective, that dynamic of
Mhm.
Christianity.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Which it was a balance there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So coming in again, also it was a crack era.
Yes.
It was still
Yes.
it was on the rise because
Right.
so how did you say? Things started shifting,
Right.
at least for me.
Yes.
Now I had to learn the ropes of being in New York. Yonkers, New
Right.
York.
Right.
Seeing crack vials on the street every time I went to school and so on and so forth. So I guess it goes back to like in that shift coming from what we consider, if you want to call it that, traditional Christian or black Christian mind state. Now this hip hop thing is rising and it's shifting the the consciousness
Right.
of the youth or this generation.
Right.
So we're segueing into this, and I don't know if Denzel just walked in. You want to introduce yourself?
I introduced when I got something valuable to say right now. Listen.
Okay, okay.
We got
and
you.
let us know if you could hear him on the mic. Just say something. Mic check.
Yo, what's good, y'all?
All right.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
good.
yes,
I can
sir.
hear you.
And I'll just check to see if we can hear you. But let's keep it going
Yeah.
because I want to see what this shift is and what is hip hop really.
Right. Wow, that's interesting because even if you're looking at it today, it's even more people leaving what we want to say leave the church because they talk about it. They talk about we're leaving, we losing people.
Right.
So now and on top of it, then you had the internet to come in.
Right.
So now you have a lot more information than you just did for the younger one for my children.
Can you lose something that was never yours?
Ooh,
You see what I'm saying? It's
right.
these are all segues back to the conversation we had for the past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And it's like, a lot of these churches, you have a pastor or a priest or somebody sitting over them, and there's like, this is their congregation. But no, it's the Most High's congregation.
Right, or the people's.
Or the people's.
The people.
Right.
Right. That's what they would say.
That's
That's
like that's a double-edged sword. Looking more into that notion of can you lose something that you never had. I just think of like the family aspect and people transitioning from death, or to another life type of thing. It's like, man, I just lost my mom.